welcome. It's great to have you here today. Amazing to have you here today.
Hmm. Oh, thanks, Fortune. I'm really delighted that you invited me into a conversation with you and really having the opportunity to share some wisdom, maybe some insights, some areas that maybe people will gain some nuggets of wisdom from. We'll see.
Yes. So, what's your story?
What's my story? Where do you want me to start? I mean, what have we got? We've got 45 minutes or so, have we?
Oh,
No.
we can stay as long as we can. Yeah.
Well, so best place for me to start probably from my career and
Mm,
just kind of where I've got to. Um, and I kind of had this belief about the world when I was quite young that I don't need anyone, I can do it on my own. I
mm,
was a child of three other children, and my father was a bit naughty, my mum left, and my dad brought us up.
mm,
And from that day on, I kind of looked after myself really, and it kind of it taught me a lot, and then it took away a lot from me.
mm,
And all I really fought for from that point onwards was security.
mm,
There was nothing going to get in my way of making sure that I was financially secure and very stable and could do it on my own 2 feet.
mm,
I worked really hard from that point on, and kind of got to myself into a position at 39 where I could retire from having to work,
mm,
from a financial perspective. And look, Fortune, I could have carried on.
mm,
Like I could have just worked my whole life and like loads and loads of money. Um, what I realised, it took a few things to happen for me to realise that actually there is more to life than money, and it was the people around me that I didn't have.
mm,
I ended up single for 17 years. I couldn't trust another, because of this belief that I could do it all on my own, right? I just did all of these things, bought lots of property,
mm,
worked really hard as an IT projects director, and I always felt lonely. Like I always just felt like no one was there for me, no one really understood me, no one was on the same mission as me. There wasn't really kind of getting why I was like glued to my phone 24/7 on emails
mm,
every weekend. So um, there was a kind of a wake up call when I started to train to be a coach. I realized that a lot of people are around me for the wrong things. So they were in a relationship with me for material things and not actually for all the qualities that I displayed as a
mm,
person. And also what I stood for really, which was kind of kindness, inclusion, etc., etc. So I quickly kind of uh, moved away from what we'd call feeling like I needed these people in my life, and I kept doing stuff to please them, um,
mm,
because of this fear of being alone, and started to realize that actually, whoa, the world starts happening to you when you feel really comfortable, about can I say letting go of the need to be surrounded by loads of people, even if they're not the right people that you should be spending your time with. Superficial is probably the best word for me to put it.
mm,
So anyway, I completely pivoted, finished working in my corporate career whilst trying to be a coach, and then started doing org design and development. So I was like working on cultural transformation, and I still had like this massive thing around the numbers. Like I had to be making lots of money, and I still had to like have loads of clients in my business for it to be successful. So it's kind of still measuring my success on the number factor, even
mm,
specifically money. So that lesson kind of kept showing up for me. I wasn't really seeing the signs or the messages around that.
mm,
Okay, something needs to change, and it wasn't until I started working with one-to-one clients that I realized that actually what really matters is how interesting these people are and the connection that I have with them and the shifts and the transformation they experience.
mm,
That I could let go of the numbers and really own exactly how I wanted my life to be, which was to choose where I spend my time, who I spend my time with, and how I spend my time.
mm,
Um, so getting to this point now, I guess I non-surprise, it's not going to be a surprise to anyone listening that I really focus on working with people who are lonely leaders and getting them to a place where they feel like more of a connected leader. And that's connected to their real mission, connected to their thoughts, their feelings, actually what they want to do.
Mm.
Um, which is all the experiences I've had, right? So our best clients are always a version of us. And look, you know, I could have got to the stage where I was a millionaire by the time I was 45. I just got out of the rat race of chasing for money and actually became a millionaire based on how many people I had around me instead.
Mm.
Which obviously has got me to this point where I feel really comfortable to talk about maybe some of the things I struggled with and actually some of the things that have now made me a success, which is doing the complete opposite of my belief around I don't need anyone, I can do it on my own, to the point now where I've literally got a community of people around me for support, which I didn't realise people were waiting for me to lead. So I've put in place the Lonely Coach community for that.
Mm.
And I'm in a relationship from a love perspective. So my partner moved in about 6 months ago. If anyone's got any tips on how to get men to shut cupboards when they open them and put please comment, like just let me know how you managed to get them to do that. I would love to hear from you.
Mm.
So that's my kind of peppered story, Fortune.
All right, thank you for sharing that. I think I don't know. It's something about men and cupboards, like we're either slamming it or leaving it open.
It's like it's the worst, and then also quite sweet. But I'm considering putting post-it notes on them.
Mm.
Please shut me when you open me. You know.
Yes, and your work is around limiting beliefs and and also that loneliness. So your work revolves around that. You know,
Yes.
now what is a limiting belief?
Well, it's a good question. The short answer is it's something that we make up.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on someone's view of the world, right? So, a good example of this is a client that I was working with last week. They believed that if they delegated some of their work to, let's say, their second in command or their right hand person, that they could do it as well as they could. So they believe that actually this perfection streak, right, this perfectionism kind of behavior, driven from the fact that they didn't believe someone could do something as well as they could. So if you can think like unpicking that, a belief that they've had probably for a very long time, limiting their ability to grow their business. And that's what a limiting belief's kind of an example of a limiting belief, really.
So
Sometimes I should say sometimes they are given to us gracefully by significant adults as we're growing up. Significant adult at home doesn't believe that they can trust anyone else other than themselves, then guess we grow up believing that too. So some of them are kind of given to us from the environment that we've grown up in, and others are formed because we have played out a story and it's proven to be correct. So we've given this person, this client had given somebody some work, and obviously they were already believing that they wouldn't do it well. And so when we got it on their door, it wasn't done to the standard that they were expecting, because that's what they asked for them to do, right? They didn't trust them, they were going to do it, so they didn't. So yeah, it's something that plays out for us on a regular basis that we work hard on proving is always correct. And actually my belief is when you do completely the opposite of that, that's when you fly, that's when you become reach the source of your brilliance, I guess.
Wow. And your message is almost counterintuitive. Which I'm not sure if it's the nature of reality or simply the nature of the message out in reality. But there's the whole idea of success is a lonely road. What do you think about that statement? Your message is almost counter that. So what does that statement, like, what do you think about that statement?
And what I believe about that is there's almost a bit of a paradox there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because that in itself is a limiting belief,
Mm.
when you think about it. So are you saying that you can't have, what that's saying is someone can't have success unless they do it on their own? In reality, I can only come from my experience. I started letting people in, like opened the floodgates, the channel for that to flow towards me from a relationship perspective, and started trusting other people. That that is when things just started coming to me without me having to work really hard for them.
Mm.
So I think, yes, you can have that when you make the decision to work really hard, potentially get to the point where you're really overstressed and burning out.
Mm.
Yes, that is potentially what would play out for somebody. I believe if you do the complete opposite of that,
Mm.
that you can be in ease and flow and have more fun because you've got more people around you that will support you to do those things and give you more space for stillness. That's my thoughts.
Mm. you know we also have other things like, okay, the people in your life would not support you. There's strangers out there that would support your mission. So don't leave the people in your life and focus on outgoing the strangers out there. What do you think about that?
Are you saying don't bring people along with you that are around you already and actually try and enlist strangers on?
Yes, like the people in your life, they hardly ever support you. Like that's the statement, right? Like they say the
Okay.
people in your life hardly ever support you, so leave them alone, you know.
Well, it's not their dream, so why should they?
Mm,
Not It's not their mission, so why should they? Just because you're related or just because you've known each other for a long time, it's not something that might be important to them.
mm,
Also, what I will say is they don't quite believe that you're going to make it happen until it happens,
mm,
right? So it's their own thing that they've got going on about what they believe is possible and what isn't, that
mm,
they try and project on you, which can then lead you to not have anything to do with these people that are close to you.
mhm,
Then you think, well, they don't get it. So because they don't get it, or that they might be trying to persuade you not to do it,
mm,
that actually they don't care and they're probably not going to support you.
mm,
When in reality, they are actually being caring. They're trying to protect you, but
mm.
that's their own problem, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a good example of this is whereby someone. So my mission, for example, my big mission is there are only 6% of the population that actually do change the world, and
Mhm.
I make that 10%.
Yes, I remember that conversation. Yes.
Yeah, right. So Fortune, look, when I sit with my dad and I talk to him about it and I try and explain it, or even if someone asks me, well, what are you doing? And I'm provocative with my answer because sometimes I like to just be playful about it. People then, they're like, well, how are you going to do that? Like that in their mind is so big.
Mm,
Actually, they're like, what, just you? Like you're going to, like, really?
mm, mm,
When in fact, it's about us all working together to create the ripple of impact through our work and through the people. So it's not just me, it's what I do and through the people that are around me. So people do care, they just show it in the way that they've always known, which is don't go big, stay small, that's
mm,
safer,
mm,
etc.
mm,
And actually, I'll expel the myth that we're not strangers. Fortune, we are all one, right? As
mm.
we're not strangers.
We're not strangers. We're all one. And what I'm getting from this is that um, people we cannot, like, people give what they have, right? They hardly ever give beyond what they have, right? And if the people in our lives, if they have limiting beliefs, that's what they are going to give. It does not mean that they're not trying to give, but they're actually giving, and then they're actually trying to help, but their way of helping is coming from how they see the world. And
Absolutely.
and sometimes even their perception of what they think the person could do, because they've never seen the person achieved anything beyond that, right? So those are contributing factors. Am I getting that right?
I would say definitely
Mm,
it is all down to what their view of the world is and their beliefs.
mm,
To I mean, no, it's not even a personal thing. From
mm,
a world perspective scale, the world would be a better place if everyone came from a place of possibility, right?
mm,
So instead of waking up and thinking I'm not enough to do this, I'm not good enough to do this, or
mm,
I am good enough to do this, but I don't need anyone to help me do it.
mm,
When we can all wake up with a mindset of openness and possibility, that
mm,
interconnectedness of making things happen,
mm,
sharing in all the prosperous kind of things that would come and flow from and to us,
mm.
it's I can't even imagine like the difference it would make to the world overall.
What? Mm,
you know
mm,
and that's why I say we're all the same, Fortune, because we were all born with a body, the organs that function. You're not having to tell your lungs to breathe for you, they just do it naturally,
mhm,
having to think about it. And the problem with us is the minute we have to start thinking about something, that's when the thoughts will get in our way of going forward or taking a decision or putting something into action.
mm,
um, and it does speak a little bit to the law of attraction, I suppose, given that I'm using organs as an example, and actually how our thoughts can get in the way of what we create and what we believe is possible.
mm,
um, but I mean, they're all there to dissuade us from what we can do,
mm,
basically.
mm. Well, um, you were talking about your 6% to 10%. Where did you get that number?
So it's the Oxford Business School. They published a white paper about 4 years ago.
Mm,
Had that information in along with other statistics about
mhm,
what that change looks like and in what areas.
mm,
Confirm it definitely wasn't in climate change
mm,
at the time. uh,
mm,
and I was really afraid to speak it out loud, if I'm honest, Fortune, because I was just like, that's ridiculous. How can we only have 6%?
mm,
When there's billions and billions of us. And when someone actually said to me, why are you only making it 10? Why can't you make it 20%?
mm,
And it's just a place to come from.
mm,
So rather than me, if you wake up every day and you say, who do I need to be today to make that possible?
mm,
Um, it's a form of motivation, I think,
mm,
and I would say also we are all greater than ourselves, and if
mm,
we believe that, then we can focus on these bigger missions and make them happen.
mm. So when you say change, what does that, what is that?
Yeah, your question, there isn't such thing as a change. I would probably more call it a shift. In my language, I would call it a shift. If
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
says I want to change who I am,
Change,
then I'm
yeah.
like, I'm like, okay, let me get my superhero pants on. And then I say, okay, well, you're not changing, you're just shifting
15, yeah.
how things go for you. Take the recent pandemic, right? Because we're all still going through that.
Mhm,
Has that made an impact in the way we value our families and the people around us, and kind of got people to a more trusting place than they ever have been before.
Mm.
So if you believe that, I mean, this is just my thoughts. There we go, thoughts. No, actually, this has come from a knowing place within inside me.
Mm.
The fact that the pandemic has made people work more from home,
Mm.
their bosses have been made to be more trusting to people and know that they're going to be just as productive even if they're not in the office.
Mm.
So that's what I would say is a big shift, an example of what I mean by change, really, and therefore, what does that mean from a world scale? Well, ultimately, when we have more trust with other humans, then guess what? People are more open to creating bigger and better things, aren't they? So,
Mm. Oh, wow. So, shift. Did the article say, was it positive or negative?
say that again.
No, now we're talking about the shifts or change now, right? The
Yes.
is this positive, negative? Like, sometimes some things appear to be good, and in hindsight we go, huh, probably shouldn't have done all of that, you know. So are you considering that, or did the article or the research, did it consider that in terms of positivity or negative impact?
It was all focused on positive impact,
Impact. Mm-hmm.
on making the world a better place.
Mm.
That was the focus and the premise of it. And actually, do you know what, Fortune? There is no negative.
Mm.
Um, what I mean is everything that happens to us is all a lesson for us to learn from,
Mhm.
and therefore there is no negative impact on our experience or ourselves when we go forward in the world. We may well be going through a tough time, and when we come out the other side, hopefully we would have learned from that and pivoted or shifted a bit in terms of how we look after ourselves off the back of that. Um, Unfortunately, we do have to go through some dark and some light. I mean, it's what we do after that makes the difference to whether or not we go back through that dark experience or have that lesson replayed for us regularly.
Mm. Mm. Wow. There is no negative. I mean, that has some context to it, right? So they have to listen to the whole paragraph and to get it. So where did you like how did you come up with the number 10? Like the 10%? It could be 11, it could be 12, it could be 9, 9.8, why 10?
Because I always remember my boss saying to me, it has to always be a 10 out of 10.
Mm.
And it used to really piss me off.
Mm.
Like massively pissed me off, Fortune. Like I always deliver a 10 out of 10, right?
Mm.
And so it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek 10%,
Mm.
I was like, I could go 7. Like, and then I was kind of like, no, fuck it, let's go 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
So it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek decision.
Mm.
Which was fun at the time when I think about it, because I remember putting my first video out on LinkedIn, Fortune, when I was doing org design and development, and I was talking about how companies don't help people belong, and like no speak up culture, no trust, etc., etc. And I remember doing this video going, oh my God, what if my old boss sees it?
Yeah.
I was like, what's he going to think? And I was like, do you know what? This video is to you. The reason I'm doing this video is actually to you. This is the lesson that I was trying to teach you.
Mm, mm, mm.
Um,
But you
so,
couldn't make that change at the time again from inside. Um, all right. So right now you're on this mission. The important thing is not even whether you're making it 6.5, 7%. We need a number, you picked one. The important thing is that you're trying to increase, create a possibility through expanding consciousness, awareness for people, expanding beliefs in a way where more people show up and make that shift and impact in the world. Did I articulate that well?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like you definitely miss like how fun it is to do it.
Yes, I did. Definitely missed that part. Yes. So tell us about how fun it is to do it. Like tell us the fun part. It
Well,
sounds very serious. We're like, we're going to shift, shift the planet. Like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. So like the fun parts.
well, I think the fun element of it is who do I want to work with?
Mm,
You know, I don't know who listens to these interviews.
mm,
My learning coach community, I certainly share some thoughts and insights and musings with them
mm,
about, how to create a kind of coaching business.
mhm,
I'm really grounded in the Rich Litvin approach because I did some training with him and was on his leadership team. Um, and if I was to go back and start my one-to-one coaching business kind of journey again, so kind of 2 years into my business when I did start that, so I've been here 5 years now,
mm,
I would have done more fun things that I was interested in doing,
mm,
connected with people right at the beginning over those things,
mhm,
is trying to do what everyone else was doing, which was let's go networking, let's do lots of marketing, and let's do loads of sales.
mm,
Actually, I put myself on every social media channel possible, followed the crowd, thought, yay, loads of clients are going to come. And I was just sat there like, where are they? I've got
mm,
a website, I've got Instagram, I've got this. Why aren't they coming? And I was going off networking and trying to build relationships with people. When in reality, if I'd done what I really wanted to do,
mm,
I wanted to spend my day, which is go out for lunch with interesting people,
mm,
get a group of people together and climb a mountain, for example, or all of the stuff that I really enjoy anyway. If,
mm,
if I'd started again, that's the fun element that I would have had at the beginning.
mm,
And it wouldn't have taken me so long, to get to this space where I'm like, actually, you know what? I want a lunch with 4 different ladies. Who shall I invite? Let's go for lunch.
mm,
And through that, through the alignment of kind of what's important to me and what is fun to me,
mm,
people just flow to you because they're like, well, actually, I wanted to chat with you. I know what you do. You know,
mm,
you help me with, I'm just about to merge my 2 companies or, so
mm,
just have more fun along the way. I would have done that. But definitely fun for me is all of the things I've mentioned and probably a lot more that I haven't talked about.
mm. Wow.
Um,
So, what would be your message to the world?
what would be my message to the world?
Yes.
There's so many.
Mm,
I mean, I think the biggest one, I had it written to me in a letter before I went traveling in Thailand at my turn of 30. So, oh God, 14 years ago nearly.
mm,
Like, is you don't happen to the world happens to you.
mm,
So to believe that I matter, we matter, everyone matters, and the minute we're allowed to show all of ourselves, take the shackles away, the armor, the whatever things that we've kind of put in front of us so that people can't get to know us and relate to us,
mm,
um, get it out there.
mm,
And always it, it's all centered around vulnerability because I do interviews around that.
mhm,
The biggest one for me is people don't need you to change who you are so that you fit in.
mhm,
To belong is for you to be all of you, the whole of you, lead loudly with all of those things.
mm,
And that's true belonging, really.
mm.
To belong to yourself, to understand yourself. Um, so I think those two, I think, would be the most impactful messages that I'd like to share with
Mm.
the
Oh,
world.
thank you very much for sharing that. I mean, there's a message in almost everything you said. Even with the coaching, that was profound. Where you said, you know, have fun. Like you could have had more fun with it. Like and it's like have fun with it and then test out and try out. When you're small, it's probably the time to even test out different things. Like who cares anyway, right? Like so, and test out the things that you really want to do. And that was like what. How did you discover that?
I discovered that I was doing similar things to my corporate life, which is working really hard, putting loads of hours in, speaking to whoever I could possibly, posting daily with absolutely shit all coming back to me from a marketing perspective. And I just literally, through Rich's advice as well, I slowed it all down, literally got into conversation with people of interest, people that know maybe a little bit about me, maybe trust me already, got more conversations with people, and started experimenting with, oh my god, what if I did like an online connection call, or what to and so it got to the point in the early days where I felt like I was trying to do so many things.
Mhm.
It's like running up a never ending hill and not really sure that that was working.
Mhm.
Um, to the point now where I'm like, I don't feel the need to try and create a client, because that
Mhm.
doesn't work. Like it's off. Straight
Mhm.
away you think, oh, I need to try and create a client today, hire a client or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
and you'd feel like a little bit of a twist in your gut going, oh shit, that means I've got to phone all these people, or it means I've got to, and actually when I had that thought, it's like pull back, it's like absolutely no, that's not the right place to come from.
Mhm.
So I think it's getting to the right place to come from, the knowing place of actually, you know what, I'm drawn to speak to this person today. I'm going to give them a call and see how they're doing. No attachment to what that's going to give me
Mhm.
or where that's going to go.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that would be the main thing.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. And in terms of impact, and expanding that, someone listening to this right now is going, you know what, I relate to that. How can I shift? How can I make that shift in whatever work I'm doing? How can I add to that number?
How can you add to what kind of number? Sorry.
The six. How can I help your mission in improving that from six
I
to six?
see. I
Yeah.
see. Well, my philosophy is the more people that are out there in the shadows as a coach to other people, the world's going to change even more. Um,
Mm,
so what I mean by that is we as supporting people in service of others, for example, um, once somebody's in that position of being in service of others from a coaching perspective, the
mm,
clients they work with,
mm,
or the world changes.
mm,
Because there's more experiences of people having the mirror put in front of them to be more aware of what they are and are not doing.
mm,
Or once there's more I talk about the 4 levels of self-awareness. That's a lot of my work is grounded in that.
mm,
Somebody has an awareness of their self,
mhm,
guess what, their behaviors change,
mm,
view the world changes, right? And have an awareness then of others around them, then
mm,
have more compassion. They don't come really judgmental.
mm,
They have more of that humility kind of
mm,
openness to them.
mm,
When they're aware of the situations around them,
mm, mm,
wow, when they can see what they played a part in and how it's unfolded, it's
mm,
better.
mm,
And the fourth level is, when someone has an awareness of the universe, right?
mhm,
Well, something that's of world impact,
mm,
and how they be as a person being conduit to that world impact.
mm,
Um, then that's where the world changes. So the more people like us that are out there working with as many people as possible in group settings or individual,
mm,
feeds my mission, which is hence why I've got the Lonely Coach community.
mm.
where I focus on running, small groups of 10
mm,
masterminds for
mm,
people, which they don't get charged for. They have to commit, they have
mm,
to sign commitment pledge. But I run those groups with these people because I know the minute that they've got their client dockets full, or they've got, lots of clients to work with, that the world's going to change. And that,
mm. You don't get charged for like what's the what does that mean?
you don't what, sorry?
You said something about they don't get charged for like what?
No, they don't. So the community is co-created. So they give me the growth, the support, the challenge, the all of those things.
Mm,
I do is get them to a place where they're working with clients on a regular basis.
mhm,
So in simple terms, I'm working with them to change the trajectory of their business. I'm passing on all of my lessons I've had to go through over the last 3 years
mm,
to them. And obviously, for me to be in a position to do that is amazing.
mm,
When you only, because Fortune, I think maybe I'll expel some myths here. A high performing coach in my mind is somebody who decides how much of their time they spend looking after themselves and how much of their time they spend looking after others.
mhm,
And the more you look after your own needs yourself, get yourself resourced to
mm,
service,
mm,
the higher fee clients, the higher the fee, the higher the clients, the higher the mission, the higher everything will come to you from that form.
mm.
Um, is that what you mean by?
Yes, yes, yes. That's kind of pointing at that. So for those who connect with you, from the loneliness as aspect of things, lonely entrepreneur or lonely coach, or those who are saying, you know what, I have some limiting beliefs here, and I want to expand what's possible for me, or those who are saying, you know what, I want to help make a shift in this world, and I want to take my gifts, my talent, my expertise to make an impact. How can they best connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn under Heather Eggington. You might, if you connect with me, you might only get to follow because I'm quite full on there.
Mm,
You can definitely email me, Heather at therealexecutivecoaching.com.
mm,
If anyone wants support, or even to learn more about themselves,
mm,
this conversation around this journey of lonely leadership to connected leadership, uh,
mm,
you subscribe to my website, you can receive my hot off the press
mhm,
kind of measuring questionnaire based on that. So someone moving from overly controlling and having to be in control all the time,
mm,
an idea of a scale of where you sit with that,
mm,
to how close you are to
mm,
self-trusting. So anyone can reach out and subscribe to my website for that,
mm.
which I can happily share the link for as well, if that's you.
Yes, I'm going to put all the links in the description. So thank you very much for coming today, sharing your truth, sharing, your experiences, and you share your mission with us. And this is very highly inspiring. So thank you very much for coming today.
Oh, thanks, Fortune. What were your takeaways?
My takeaways is, you said something about limiting beliefs, and it's realizing that we don't get to think about these things as limiting beliefs sometimes, like when I said, okay, so there's a popular saying about loneliness, oh, success is lonely at the top, or success is a lonely journey and stuff, right? And immediately you saw the limiting belief in that, whether we call it quote or we call that, you saw it and like, that's a limiting belief.
Yeah.
The life is meant to be holistic. Is and I want this, I have this, and I want to experience life holistically, as opposed to I have to sacrifice everything and become lonely because I want to have this idea of success, which sometimes is almost like giving up what we have now, which is all we would ever have anyway now, for an idea of future happiness. And what you're saying is we could be present with ourselves now, as and really enjoy life now. Even that ties to what you were saying about you know, in an approach you have advised people to take with their business now, which is you will enjoy it now, progressively into that future, you know,
Mm.
into that whatever that future looks like. So
Yeah.
now the journey is as fun as much as.
Yeah, because that's exactly what helps it be fun. And stops this enoughness question.
Mm,
Time we're looking for more,
mm,
more success. I need more money. I need more houses. I need more cars. Blah blah blah.
mm,
We're trying to look for more all the time.
mm.
We literally forget what's right in front of us.
Right in front of us. Mm,
Yeah, and it also creates that feeling of never having enough or
mm,
never feeling enough, because
mm,
it's like, I just do this,
mm.
then I'll have
And
that.
I'll be that.
No,
Then
and it's like, no, that's really hard.
mm.
So I really appreciate it, Fortune. Loved
What's
it.
your biggest takeaway? You know, sometimes we
I think my biggest takeaway is actually, while being in an interview with somebody, to always try my best to relate it back to something that's really relevant to someone who maybe hasn't experienced coaching or hasn't experienced
Mm,
sort of language, etc., etc. I think that's my takeaway, because I'm aware that my language is probably a higher level of awareness, or EU,
mhm,
kind of to emotional intelligence.
mhm,
So it's just being really, really aware of making sure I relate it back to everyday